Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to cover a particular type of optimization pattern that we've come across. So this is called, it comes under the umbrella of database migrations. As apps grow, as we add more fields or we have make some changes or the feature requirements change, we do end up having to migrate large numbers of records from one particular pattern to another. Regardless of how much foresight you can have through engineering your apps, you can still like, oh, oops, made a mistake. We've got 1,000 live users and we need to change this field to this field. Common scenario can happen. So I'm just going to walk through two approaches and one of them which it's a self-healing approach rather than a bulk migration approach. So let's imagine an example scenario. We've got an order ID. Okay, we've got this order ID number. And now, for whatever reason, we want to place an alphabet ahead of these order IDs. All order IDs now are A dash. So it's going to be A dash 811546599, whatever the product requirement. Okay. Now, one particular approach would be to create a backend workflow, DB migration. Okay. Pass it the data, make changes to thing, order ID equal A dash order ID. And then what we're going to do is use the bulk endpoint. So we can either select all or select a some records or bulk endpoint, DB migration, run workflow, and that's going to change on live. That's going to change all entries, 1,000 entries. Now what's going to happen is that this is going to really spike the workload usage. And we may need it. I don't say we don't need it. We may not need it as such. And what are sometimes you can use a self-healing approach where instead of doing all the entries in mass, what you do is you just do it one at a time when you need to. Okay, so let's say when your per user, uh, the user who has these order IDs linked, when he opens the order page, that's when the that's when that record is self-healed. And what's that workflow looking like? It's quite straightforward. Uh, just add a conditional. Oops, this order ID doesn't contain A dash. Make the change then and there in the front end. So you could argue that this has a bit of an expense associated with it, that it's got some extra conditional, extra front end work, extra yada yada yada. However, it depends. In this scenario, you space out the workload unit as well. You can also potentially, let's say you've got 2,000 users, 50,000 records, and you've got 500 users who are not active anymore. Okay, so you don't need to process 25,000 records of old inactive users, which are like archived records. It's just not logging in. There's no need to process them. With the self-heal pattern, with the next time your actual current user logs in, then you can trigger this workflow. Whether you want to run it as a schedule API workflow on login or page load or whatever you want to do it, you can add flags. But generally, just the concept I'm trying to kind of convey here that you can self-heal. Okay, so let's just run an example. Okay, self-healing architecture. So it's just gonna, at the moment, order ID is 126.767.909, and whenever that workflow runs, oops, migrated A-126. So the user may not notice it. You just have to make sure the UX is a certain way. It may work for some things. It may not work for other things at all. For example, you could be using the order ID and workflows with some other conditions or whatever scenario. It depends on what the situation is, what the feature is. But for some database migration, you may not need to do bulk record changes and you could potentially just self-heal as you go. It'll definitely avoid spiking the workload unit cost, and it definitely, you'll shave some inactive archived records which you just don't need to migrate. Maybe you have a status flag in your records and it's like, okay, archive, just ignore those. Let's just not migrate the archived records. It's fine. Or archived users, users who've canceled their plan for perhaps. So it all depends on the scenario. But generally, if you need to migrate uh, a large number of records, you could do a sense check. Do I need to migrate them all immediately? Or can I self-heal these? Can I shave the number of records I need to migrate somehow? In the old capacity model, you'd be like, just do it. It's fine. Let's just ignore the thing. But now with the workload, you're like, okay, you need to be a bit mindful of the cost of doing database migrations. All right, hope this was useful. I'll leave a link to this editor as well in the video below, and it's got the other optimization tip as well. And if you do like this and want to see some more content, do drop a comment below of scenarios which you're struggling with to optimize. I'll try my best. And please do like, share, and subscribe this video. Thanks. Bye.